Muted.
It says we are live.
Yay,
Yay.
hey peeps. Cozy in the building.
I'll see if my other phone to say we're live on YouTube. It's still saying it's upcoming.
It should be muted, yeah. Right, yeah, we're live. I can press share and we share it from there.
Let's
Oh,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, don't forget to share.
Right, we'll put the A. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, people. Right.
I can't even find it. Oh, there we are. Yes, it's showing now. Oh, I better turn down the sound. All right.
So,
Grab a drink. So you ready to start with Atlantis tonight, Code?
yay. Yep. I'm ready.
Some more. All right. Chloe's taken up a little bit more of the bed tonight than she did last week,
You
making me
look
have to
like you're
get
in a
new
chair.
blankets. She wants to
Yeah.
listen to the book, so she wants to be close and listen. Don't you? Okay, here we go. Chapter 3. Oh, and there's the book. Chapter 3, Atlantis in the Sunrise Sea. In 1954, I was traveling from New York to Europe on a ship called Mauritania. No, I don't know what that is. Mauritania. Let's say that. Mauritania. Midway across the ocean. But despite my unpleasant problems from the very rough seas, I began to have an awful feeling of things far below me. I knew nothing about Atlantis. Yes, my sister, who is the author Shirley Andrews, so this is her brother speaking. Yes, my sister spoke of this place, but I had nothing to do with that. As I grew up, I had no interest in the mysterious land which she said was at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But now I felt Atlantis lying crushed beneath me, broken land, smashed cities. I had a sense of dread, doom. This horrible feeling stayed with me as we moved slowly towards our destination. Atlantis was big, very big, a wondrous, civilized, complex society with all its good and all its bad. And as the ship took me towards Europe, I knew it lay shattered and ruined under the water. So it's her sister, Barbara. So that's kind of cool. She never believed what her sister Shirley was saying, and then she felt it when she was going across the ocean.
Can I say something quick? Well,
Yes.
there's that other camera angle. I remember that. I remember I was a small picture and you was
Yes.
big. Yeah,
Yep.
just in
We did
case
that.
you got to
Nope.
show a
Right.
picture in it, like show and
I
tell.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
So come on.
yeah, that's
Yay.
it.
Here we go. Yes. I'm
Yeah,
glad you said something because I forgot all about that.
yeah.
Yay.
Right, thanks.
Now we're good. All right. Here's another letter from someone anonymous. It says, when I went to Barbados, I was led to an older gentleman who took me to the top of the island to a little town called Atlantis. He further told me folk tales that describe the ancient mountaintops of Atlantis as the present islands of the Caribbean. They still tell stories about it over there. And that's in Barbados. All right, now here we go back to the book. The inhabitants of the motherland of Mu in the Pacific Ocean were the first to develop a high civilization, but in prehistory people thrived throughout the world just as they do today. In 350 BC, Greek scholar Plato wrote a detailed description of a country on fertile land that he called Atlantis. Plato's Atlantis was an extensive island that, before it sank in about 10,000 BC, was in the Atlantic Ocean in front of the mouth of the Pillars of Hercules. Long ago, the Straits of Gibraltar were called the Pillars of Hercules because Hercules, an emperor of the African Tuaregs, controlled shipping through the narrow passageway. I never knew that the Straits of Gibraltar used to be called Pillars of Hercules.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the
Huh.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shipping lane. Yeah. They can control
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Before 10,000 BC, Lemurians traveled to Atlantis and Atlanteans traveled to Lemuria. As we shall see, in spite of some basic differences, the people of the two countries influenced each other and sometimes intermarried. 3 times Plato asserts that his Atlantean information is true. He carefully outlines his sources and researches who checked on them to confirm that his authorities live when Plato says they did. The subject of Atlantis fascinated Plato, and to learn more, it is said that he consulted students of Pythagoras from 582 to 500 BC, and others who were acquainted with the ancient mythological, historical, and geological lore. Proclus, who was alive AD 410 to 485, reports that before Plato wrote about Atlantis, he made a trip to Egypt, presumably to confirm his data. In Egypt, Plato sold edible oils, probably olive oil, to the Egyptians to pay for his journey. While he was there, he talked with priests at Sais, Heliopolis, and Sabinitis. Oh my goodness, they're really throwing the words at me
Yeah.
tonight.
Helopolis. Yeah. 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 I know them. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then the Sabinitis, maybe? Sabinitis?
Don't know that one.
Okay. For his Atlantean account, Plato also had access to ancient records, such as those in the remarkable library at Alexandria, which Edgar Casey says Atlanteans established in 10,300 BC to include information about cultures and religions from all over the world. For hundreds of years, learned people assembled in that attractive North African city to exchange information and contribute to the growing collection of valuable manuscripts. Eventually, almost 1 million scrolls and books from all parts of the Western world were available to scholars who traveled to Alexandria.
Oh.
In AD 391 and again in AD 642, ignorant invaders completely burned the Alexandrian library's irreplaceable contents, including the collections of information about Atlantis and Lemuria that scholars had so carefully preserved. Man, there's most of this stuff, that's what they do is get burned. That's what they said. The Mexicans burned a whole bunch down there too, outside of Mexico City. A lot of fire. The fate of Hypatia, a gifted female mathematician and philosopher, demonstrates the zeal of those who compulsively destroyed the precious writings. This very beautiful woman, who was curator at the library at Alexandria in the 4th century AD when it was torched and burned, attempted to save some scrolls from the flames. The story is that Christians dragged her into a church, stripped her naked, and cut her into pieces with abalone shells. Wow. Just for trying to save them, people. Plato refrained from writing about Atlantis until just before he died. It appears that as he neared the end of his life, he finally wrote about Atlantis in an effort to ensure that the history of the lost civilization would be preserved. He undoubtedly received some of his information from priests who were members of secret brotherhoods who swore him to secrecy. In the past, these mystery schools kept wisdom from those who were not initiated into their society, for it helped to ensure the safety of their intellectual treasures during perilous times. Sorry, the cat just kind of distracted me. During perilous times when pillaging the land was going on. It also offered them esteem and a means of controlling the general public. In some situations, the punishment for disclosing sacred hidden knowledge was death. Yeah, Mikey, stop. The cat's up here saying hi. Hey,
He
Well, she
knows
just
I'm here. Hello, Kato.
changed my screen. Hi, Scott. Welcome in. Come on, Mikey. Get back.
Hey, Scott. Scott's in the building.
Let's see. Gotta find
But
where I was at.
you get the
Okay,
death. Oh, yeah. Oh, bit of
there.
knowledge.
It also offered them esteem and a means of controlling the general public. In some situations, the punishment for disclosing sacred knowledge was death. There we go. Since the time of Plato, secret societies have continued to appeal to the human race. Their ceremonies are usually not open to the public, but knowledge about the organizations is generally available. Edgar Cayce depicts Atlantis as a large island that originally lay between the Gulf of Mexico and the Mediterranean. Over a period of thousands of years, the huge country gradually disintegrated into smaller islands. In the Timaeus, Plato describes the final days of the main island, when what remained was located on the Atlantic Ridge, a mountainous section of the seafloor that runs north to south in the Atlantic Ocean between the European and American continents. This land is not granite like continents, but volcanic material that comes through rifts in the ocean floor where sections of the Earth's crust are separating. Proof that portions of the mountainous Atlantic Ridge were above the surface until 9500 BC is available in innumerable other books, which offer the results of extensive studies from analysis of core samples, the geography of the terrain, glacial residue, lava rock, coral, sand deposits, and plant growth. The evidence is convincing and readily available. Sources are more fully indicated in my book, Atlantis, Insights from a Lost Civilization. The proposition that Plato's Atlantis was a Bronze Age society that thrived until 1200 BC is impossible to validate, for there is no evidence that substantial portions of the Atlantic Ridge were above the surface after 9500 BC. The hills, valleys, and broad central plain of Atlantis are clearly visible on an ocean floor map of the Atlantic Ridge today. The Azores Mountains, Madeira, and the Cape Verde Islands, which were the mountaintops of Atlantis, are all that remain of the once flourishing land. These islands' steep coastal hillsides extend almost perpendicularly down to the seafloor without underwater platforms. The sand beaches along parts of the western and southern coast of the country and the coral reefs that offered protection from the ocean storms are also visible far below the surface. The volcanic soil of Atlantis was rich and nourishing, and the temperate Gulf Stream that circled the island ensured a pleasant climate even during the Ice Age. In this desirable location, with the protection from invaders that the surrounding ocean provided, the Atlantean civilization thrived. Plato's report of Atlantis includes the geography of the country, an extensive description of its massive capital city, information about the government, the army, the people's extensive use of gold and silver, and much more. The inhabitants of Atlantis had a major geographical problem. The Atlantic Ridge lies at the intersection of two sections or plates of the Earth's crust, and three sections intersect in the region of the Azores Plateau. Although it is below the surface, it is one of the most active volcanic areas in the world, for these sections of the Earth's surface frequently change positions.
How do you spell that, Azores? Sorry.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? How
No
do I
idea,
spell
is
it?
Yeah.
Azores.
Thanks.
And I'm not sure if that's how you say it or
No, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, that's how I've heard it said. Yeah.
okay. Let's see.
Yeah, sorry.
Chloe's throwing me off being in her spot. Oh, sorry. I just
I
said
will
on her
throw this in quickly as well because we're led to believe the timeline is less than the timeline we're speaking on
Right.
in this realm. Yeah, so that's why it would be hard for it to be out there to believed upon, because it's given a longer timeline. So you can see how it's sort of been buried.
And then everybody that comes out and talks about Lemuria and Atlantis, way in the past, they're always labeled as crazy,
Yeah.
after they start doing that.
Yep. Don't fit the timeline. Yeah. So
Right. Let's see. I think I was on this page. Yeah. The movement is very slow, but when it happens, it stimulates damaging earthquakes and volcanoes. As in Iceland today, which is the only major portion of the Atlantic ridge above the surface, life-threatening earthquakes and volcanic eruptions were frequent events in Atlantis. Small islands that occasionally appear and disappear in the Atlantic Ocean demonstrate the instability of the Atlantic ridge. In March 1882, 200 miles south of the Azores, a British captain and his crew aboard the SS Jesmond noticed smoke in the distance and quantities of dead fish and mud on the surface of the ocean. The ship continued on and came to an island with smoking mountains that was not on their maps.
Huh.
When the captain and some sailors went ashore to explore the desolate place, they were surprised to discover that no plants or trees grew on the island. The apprehensive men came to the ruins of massive stone walls and, while digging near one of them, they unearthed bronze swords, jewelry, pottery, and a lava-covered stone case that apparently contained a mummy.
Huh.
They took the sarcophagus to the British Museum for safekeeping, but the museum says that it is currently lost. Just like everything else, they always lose. They get burned or they lose them. They were saying the same thing about the Lemurian stuff. The British and American press reported the event at the time, but the ship's log, which was in the offices of the SS Jesmond's owners, was destroyed in the London Blitz in 1940. The mysterious island soon disappeared and has never appeared since. In 1808, there's some eights. 1808, after a substantial underwater volcanic eruption, a large island appeared among the Azores. It was given the name Sambrina, but before long, it too sank beneath the waves. During the 20th century, several additional acres of the Azores Islands of Terceira rose from the sea, and more land, which is only 7 feet under the surface, is currently moving upward. When the earth shook too often, the ground beneath their feet flooded and sank, and volcanoes ejected rocks, lava, and hot ashes. Many Atlanteans left their island home and moved to more stable lands around the Atlantic Ocean. They thrived in their new locations, and soon the Atlantean civilization was widespread. The Caribbean area, where life was easier, was a favorite destination. Here, Atlanteans built extensive cities similar to their old capital that Plato portrays so well. Ruins of Atlantean buildings in these regions are more accessible and are slowly revealing themselves to the many diligent searchers who hope to find Atlantis. The civilization of Poseidia, the largest island in the Caribbean Sea, and a popular destination of Atlanteans, will be described in the following chapters. So that was the end of that chapter. So that was chapter 3. So now we're going to go to chapter 4, and let's see. It's called Poseidia, the Land of Promise.
Oh, like Poseidon.
Right? Yeah. So this is another letter that she got from someone anonymous, and it says, I grew up on a small island off the southern coast of Puerto Rico. All my friends and I believe it was once on a much larger island and part of Atlantis. We remember that we worked in a temple on that island where people with physical and mental problems came to be healed. The soil on the island was clay, and when we were children, when it was raining hard, we would pick up a clump of the clay and hold it out in the rain in the palm of our hands. The water washed away the dirt, and when it was gone, we'd have a handful of little quartz crystals. Oh, how
Mm.
cool. That would be cool to
That'd be fun.
right? Oh, whoops. I'm messing with my okay. From 30,000 BC until 10,000 BC, when ocean waters were 350 feet lower than today, the continental shelves around the Atlantic Ocean were extended out as far as 200 miles from the present shorelines of America and Europe. Extensive portions of the sea floor of the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea were also above the surface. Poseidia was a large, pleasant island in 28,000 BC located on the Bahama Bank, which at the time was completely above the surface. The Bahama Bank is clearly visible on any map that depicts the ocean's floor. Today, Poseidia is about 700 small islands and cays that extend from 50 miles east of the Palm Beach, Florida, for approximately 760 miles southeast in the direction of Haiti. The exposed continental shelves, plus the larger islands that resulted from less water in the ocean, make Poseidia easily accessible to the Atlanteans. Okay, we have a picture here. It's the islands in the vicinity of the Bahama Bank. The shaded areas are below the surface today, and clear areas are above the surface.
Oh.
I can get this to show. Is it coming up?
Yeah. So, it's a lot shaded more than anything.
Yeah, it's so we've got, let's see. This up here is the little Bahama Bank.
Right.
And then we've got this right here is Florida.
Oh. Yeah, it should be there, yeah.
This down here is Haiti.
Oh.
And then this big through here, that's Cuba. The one that goes.
Oh, right, yeah.
Whoops,
So
wrong way. Oops. Goes. That's Cuba. All right. So let's see. Jacques Cousteau offers some interesting proof that Poseidia was above the surface so long ago. While in his submarine, Calypso, Cousteau explored around Andros, the larger island in the Bahamas. At a depth of 165 feet, he found a huge grotto or cave with large stalactites and stalagmites. Tests of sediments on the walls of the cave confirmed that it was above water in and before 10,000 BC. Andros Island, in the center of the Bahama Bank, has many caves with writing on their walls that is similar to ancient written symbols in the Canary Islands. No one has successfully deciphered these far-flung hieroglyphics.
No way.
Okay, this is, let's say, the...
And they got a picture of them. Damn.
Of the Canary Islands?
No one to decode that writing. What no one's decoded yet.
Right? Wouldn't that be cool?
Have a go, innit?
Hey, send it. You're called code for a reason, right?
Yeah, send it to me.
Check that out. Okay, the Lucayan Caverns near Grand Bahama Island are also now submerged, but were once above the surface. Their winding passages extend underwater for 8 miles, and include a huge domed hall and rooms with circular skylights.
Yeah.
Human bones in a group of caverns on Grand Bahama Island, which can only be accessed by diving through by a lake, provide additional evidence that many thousands of years ago, when this land was above the surface, people lived in Poseidia. I've seen that in movies. Well, and even this other book that I read, where you have to like swim down to the lake
Yeah.
and you go in the cave and
And
then
then you
like
come up.
you end up, yeah, and you end up somewhere
Exactly.
else.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've seen that, and I know that these exist, and they go through really like that's how I learned this from the Mayans, because that's how
Right.
they built them cavern things were already there, and that's why they build their things in certain places because they're linked underground like that. The water
It's
now, then you need water
exactly. That's
if you want to work with the energy. Yeah, oh mate,
8
you've lived
miles.
there, like happy.
That's
Oh,
pretty wild.
hmm.
Atlanteans who moved westward looking for a new place to live also settled in Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. I'm sorry, Yucatan made me laugh.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. When they
Sorry.
arrived at Yucatan Peninsula, they were surprised to find people from Mu and Og, which is Peru, already living in the most desirable locations. So the Lemurians beat them to the Yucatan Peninsula.
Oh,
The
hello.
Lemurians and South Americans were very helpful and friendly, however, and shared their knowledge with the newcomers. No serious problems arose between the various groups since they were all compassionate and spiritually advanced. The followers of the virtuous Atlantean leader Iltar and the people from Mu and Og gradually intermarried, and an advanced civilization, the predecessor of the Mayas, developed.
Oh, mate.
Hmm.
Thought that. But I thought
In
without
fact,
even knowing it. Now I'm getting a confirmation.
in the Yucatan. Huh. Memories of the people of Mu with whom the Atlanteans met and intermarried in Central America are still evident. Inscriptions on Yucatan monuments indicate they were constructed as memorials to the thousands of unfortunate people in the motherland of Mu who died when the ocean water covered it. Carved figures in the yoga position adored lintels and walls of ancient, disintegrating buildings in Central America. At Palenque, a carved figure sits in the cross-legged attitude of meditation, and a beautiful bas-relief portrays a person in a yoga position.
Hmm.
These features, which were common in the Far East, demonstrate that travel from the Pacific was possible long ago. Immigrants from Lemuria carried their customs with them as they moved to both Asia and Central America. The name of Guatemala reflects the presence of people from Mu, for Gautama is a name given to the Buddha in the Far East and was probably a sacred word long before the days of Buddha. In both the Codex Troanus and the Codex Cortesinanus, the Maya recorded the sinking of the land of Mu.
Huh.
Cuba was a larger island during the last ice age and included the Puente del Este caves of the Isle of Youth, which is now about 100 miles southwest of the Cuban mainland. The circular openings of the ceilings of these interesting caverns offered opportunities for the inhabitants to view the stars, and the numerous astronomical symbols in these Punta del Este caves indicate the significance of heavenly bodies to those who spent time in them so long ago. The
Hmm.
walls and ceilings of the caverns also contain unusual red and black petroglyphs, as well as pictures of bulls. The bull figures are reminders of the importance of bulls in Atlantis, as are the bulls painted 20,000 years ago on the walls of the Spanish caves in southwestern Europe.
Huh.
When sea levels were lower, Atlanteans lived on a long mass of land that included the small island off the coast of Puerto Rico with quartz crystals in the soil. The land extended from Jamaica across what are now the Lesser Antilles Islands and continued all the way south to Venezuela. Except for 2 or 3 breaks from rivers, this lengthy stretch of firm ground offered a connection between South America and the Caribbean. Along the road, traders led animals loaded with gold, silver, and precious gems from South America, which they used for trade with the people of the Caribbean. That's a long stretch of line there, going from Jamaica all the way down to Venezuela. I wish that was on a map. She don't have a map showing that.
Yeah, you got to know your geography, then.
Right? Okay. Evidence of humans living in South America long ago offers proof that the oceans were carriers, not barriers, in the distant past. Archaeologists have learned that Monteverde in southern Chile was home to immigrants possibly as long as 33,000 years, and many other areas in South America were occupied between 13,000 BC and 18,000 BC. In a Brazilian rock shelter 32,000 years ago, artists created permanent paintings in the same style as those which artists made in the caves of southwestern Europe at that time. Since the time of Lemuria and Atlantis, adventurers have proved it is quite possible to bridge the oceans and reach the American continent from both the east and west. Thor Heyerdahl's trip in 1947 on a primitive balsa raft across the Pacific Ocean from Peru to Polynesia, and the many brave travelers who have duplicated his exploits demonstrate that the Pacific Ocean was quite accessible to ancient people. Heyerdahl built his flimsy raft, Kon-Tiki, from 9 giant balsa logs, just as ancient Peruvians might have done, without using any metal. With 5 friends, he traveled 3,600 miles across the Pacific, proving that ancient people could cross vast stretches of oceans. You know, that would be kind of scary.
Yeah.
A little boat like that, you know, but back then, I mean, that's pretty awesome that they were doing that. And it probably wouldn't be as scary because you wouldn't know about the bigger boats or the boats made out of the different materials.
They probably found some islands anywhere along the way.
Right. That's pretty wild. I don't know why that's sticking in me, but with their little boats going all the way, that's just awesome.
It's a long way on a little boat. It take a long time.
Right, 3,600 miles, but that's cool, and that's how they got their word out, and they didn't just stay where they were at. That's awesome. Heyerdahl traveled from east to west, but a current north of Hawaii to the southwestern United States, plus the prevailing westerly winds, made the trip in the opposite direction available to Lemurians. Rafts in Micronesia, which go back to at least 60,000 BC, show that people were not afraid to venture forth. Using the stars, reassuring support from dolphins, the winds, and the ocean's currents, Lemurians went wherever they wished.
Yeah, because they say
seeing the dolphins guiding him. You know, they say that dolphins are really smart and they have a great intuition about that. And dolphins came up tonight. I don't remember what it was. Me and my uncle were talking about dolphins.
Well, they've got that sonar radar from dolphins.
Yes.
So they know where they're at. They know where they are.
Right. Use the that's great.
Yeah.
See, Lemuria. I'm feeling.
He studied dolphins and then say we're Lemurian. Yeah.
Okay. After years of intensive research, Edgerton Sykes unearthed unearthed reports from a variety of hardy Irishmen who traveled as early as 2000 BC westward across the Atlantic Ocean to the magical place they described as the land of youth, the land of heroes, the land of promise, the great coast, and the plain of desire. Information about Atlanteans who once lived in the Caribbean, which Sykes gleaned from the journals of these early travelers, will be included in the next chapter. Ignoring the dire warnings of others and following shorelines or the ocean's currents in the direction of the setting sun, the fearless Irish adventurers crossed the Atlantic long before Columbus. Stone markers, or inuksuks, stand where they placed them as they sailed along the coastline of the North Atlantic. Using simple geometric calculations, they followed these signposts from one point to the next. That's great too. Geometric. The Gulf Stream, a huge circular moving current in the Atlantic Ocean, contains more water than all the rivers of the world. The enormous current is 50 to 100 miles wide at the surface and often extends over a mile down. It moves in a clockwise direction from the southern United States, up the coast, across to Europe, and down along the coast of Spain and northwest Africa. From there, it proceeds across the Atlantic to the Bahamas and back up to the southern United States. So I'm trying to picture this. So I'm going to do
That's
this
what
again.
they use to navigate with then. That's unbelievable.
Southern United States, up to Europe, down to Spain. That's awesome. Columbus spent a long month crossing from Europe to the American continent, but recently sailors in a ship similar to his, with the help of the more southerly section of the Gulf Stream, made the trip in 19 days. Early Irish sailors were free to travel in the ocean because they were outside the Straits of Gibraltar, which were often controlled by others. Once they learned to correctly follow the clockwise circuit of the current of the Gulf Stream, they traveled back and forth across the Atlantic. It was relatively quick and easy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Raw.
That's cool.
I didn't know that existed.
Gulf Stream.
Huh.
Hmm.
I'm going to see if now I've got to look into that. Oh.
That makes me think of the movie Finding Nemo, Australia, and that's how the turtles, they were going in the stream, you know, and they didn't want to get out. It was like a major adventure getting out and back in, but
Yeah, but a stream is a master, and now you're mentioning turtles like Master Splinter, who was the leader.
right.
And also, we're saying Golf Stream, but if you spell golf as in the game you play, that's a 22. So a
No,
golf.
it's GULF.
Yeah, I know it is. I know
Oh,
it is. But
okay, I got you.
But if we
Right.
done it the other way, it'd be 22, and a stream is a master, and it's a master number to 22. So yeah,
Right.
I'm just seeing all that in there.
That's great.
Damn, the Gulf Stream. I didn't know that.
Ancient Irish stories about the Furbolgs, the people of the hide boats, who arrived in Ireland from Atlantis when their homeland on the Atlantic Ridge was sinking, may be what inspired the Irish to build their seaworthy crafts of leather. The curas, as the monks called their boats, consisted of wooden frames covered with sewn animal skins. They were small and lightweight and proved more stable in the heavy seas than larger vessels, for they rode with and on top of the waves. Close to the ocean surface, the sailors could more easily read its currents. If the small leather curras did capsize, they were not apt to sink. Legends in a few ancient Central American books have survived to remind us of the people from Mu and Atlantis and their descendants who once lived there. Abbe Brochure de Bourbourg, a respected scholar of the 19th century, devoted his life to the study of Central American history, philosophy, and religion. In 1845, Brochure moved to Mexico and learned the local dialects. After he gained the confidence of the natives, they helped him find obscure manuscripts from 17th century Spanish friars and to translate and understand inscriptions on the stelae that escaped his destructive predecessors. Stelae are stone columns on which the Maya and their ancestors, realizing that records written on softer material would not survive for long, wisely recorded their information. And that's Stellae. Stellae.
Looks like Tesla. Yeah.
Right. Huh. In 1864, Brochure discovered the Troano Code in Madrid. It is one of the 4 Mayan books that escaped the Spaniards' ruinous fires. Apparently, a 17th century priest carried the valuable document to Spain, where it lay neglected for almost 200 years. A second half of the Troano Codex, the Cortesianus, appeared in another part of Spain a few years later. The Troano Codex, which the Maya wrote at least 3,500 years ago from knowledge accumulated over many centuries, consists of 56 pages inscribed on both sides. To form each page, the writers folded and doubled an immense strip they ingeniously made from the bark of a fig tree. If the book is laid flat, it fills the floor of a large room. Wow. The pages, which are folded like a fan, are completely covered with a whitish varnish on which the hieroglyphic characters are written in black, red, blue, and brown. I wish she had more pictures in here. I'd like to see a picture.
Oh.
That's okay. Brochure learned from the Cortesianus that a fearful cataclysm caused a large island in the Atlantic Ocean to sink into the waters with millions of inhabitants. Brochure's concentrated years of study led him to believe that passing comets, falling meteors, and similar terrible natural objects from the skies destroyed at least one advanced civilization in the past. These revelations were too much for the 19th century academic community, and, in spite of his careful scholarship, Brochure's colleagues rudely scorned and avoided him for the rest of his life. Dr. Augustus Le Plongeon and his wife Dixon lived in the Yucatan from 1873 until 1885. They learned the language of the Maya, studied their culture, listened to their stories, and participated in their shamanic rituals. He came to realize that beneath the natives' everyday life, there existed a strong current of occult wisdom and practice that stemmed from the very distant past. For example, he learned that the ordeals in the rites of initiation to the mysteries that the priests practice in Ixbalba, in the heart of the Guatemalan mountains, were similar to the trials of initiations to the greater mysteries in ancient Egypt. Lepongian was a Mason and was amazed to discover evidence of Masonic rituals in ancient Mayan sculpture. Lepongian and his wife were the original excavators of Chichen Itza, which they documented. Say it.
No, that's right. Go on. No, go on. I'd sit on.
They documented with 500 photographs. From their contacts with the people and a variety of other sources, the Laplangians asserted that some ancestors of the Maya were from the motherland of Mu. His excellent translation of the Troana about the terrible sinking of Mu reads as follows. In the year 6 Khan, on the 11th Mulu, in the month Zak, there occurred terrible earthquakes, which continued without intermission until the 13th Chun. The country of the hills of mud, the land of Mu, was sacrificed. Being twice upheaved, it suddenly disappeared during the night, the basin being continually shaken by volcanic forces. Being confined, these caused the land to sink and rise several times and in various places. At last the surface gave way, and the 10 countries were torn asunder and scattered in fragments. Unable to withstand the force of the seismic convulsions, they sank with 64 millions of inhabitants, 8,060 years before the writing of this book. And that was from Laplangian. Writings, the Laplangians translated on a temple at Uxmal, which stated the building was constructed in memory of Mu, the land to the west from whence came sacred mysteries, helped to confirm the startling information. Since assertions of this type were unacceptable to the scientific community, like Brochure, Laplangian lost all credibility and his fellow scholars permanently ignored him. In addition, the Mexican government confiscated many valuable relics the natives had shared with him. Near the end of his life, he no longer trusted the Mexicans and lost all interest in sharing his. Let me try that again. Near the end of his life, he no longer trusted the Mexicans and lost all interest in sharing his discoveries with the outside world. After he died, his wife revealed that her husband had hidden a precious map to the site of underground rooms where there were perfect records of the Maya. Hopefully, one day someone will rediscover these significant memories of the past. The Lacandan Indians in the southern Mexico are Maya who lived completely removed from civilizations for hundreds of centuries until 50 years ago when a startled surveyor stumbled upon one of their villages. The Lacandans believe their language is the oldest in the world. One night in a dark hut deep in the rainforest of Chiapas in southern Mexico, I listened to an elderly Lacandian chant. The songs of, I listened to an elderly Lacandian chant the songs of his ancestors. As he sang, he changed the notes in pitch, intensity, and amount of vibrato, depending on the meaning of the words. Even before the sing-song words were translating from his language to Spanish to English, I understood the main character in his frantic action and terrified feeling as a fierce jaguar attacked and killed him. The fact that Lacandans continue to use this ancient language, their skills at making cloth from tree bark, just as their ancestors had and done for thousands of years, and my observations in the village convinced me of the validity of the memoirs of their origin. Lacandan Ken Garcia asserts the Maya originally came from the land of Atlantis, but they have very strong hereditary connections to the Tibetans and the Indians of North America. Ken reports that these distant ancestors gave his people sacred geometry, knowledge of the universe, and books inscribed on rocks and monuments. The Aztecs also remember the homeland of their ancestors. When Cortez and his Spanish soldiers invaded Mexico in 1519, these highly civilized people lived north of the Maya in and around what is now Mexico City. As the Spaniards stared at the gleaming beauty of the Aztec capital, with its magnificent pyramids painted pink with volcanic ash in places higher than the tallest churches in Spain, it seemed as if they were dreaming. The canals, lakes, freshwater aqueducts, and perfectly paved streets of the city, which was larger than Paris, the biggest metropolis in Europe, added to the scene. Montezuma, the handsome emperor with his carefully trimmed beard and gracious manners, resembled a European nobleman. What was the origin of all this civilization? Montezuma told the Spaniards his distant ancestors came from a land to the east called Aztlan, which was now at sea. In their language, atoll means water, and tlan is place or land, so Aztlan means water, land, or perhaps an island. The Aztecs remembered that Aztlan had a high mountain, a garden where the gods lived, and many flamingos. Thousands of beautiful pink and orange flamingos still congregate and breed in Andros Island in the center of what was once Poseidia. The Aztecs attempted to preserve memories of their past in stone carvings. Many years ago, a German archaeologist found a frieze on a temple deep in the jungle of northern Guatemala that apparently depicts a destruction of Atlantis. The relief depicts a scene in which a pyramid or temple is falling apart and slipping into the water. Next to the blocks of the crumbling building is a large volcano that is erupting. A man rowing a boat has adornments in his ears indicating he is a priest. Before him, a drowning person wears a headdress which suggests he or she represents the lower class. And this is all on one of the temples.
Yeah. If you decode it like that.
Try to picture that scene there. Okay, so you got the man rowing his boat. That's pretty cool. To me, I think like all the cave drawings, all the things back, they just amaze me because they're so old and the meanings. It's just
mind blowing.
Okay. For thousands of years, the Caribs of Central America have preserved memories of their ancestors who were members of a large group of 7 families who left their homes on a now submerged land far to the east in the Sunrise Sea. The 7 families traveled to the west in 7 fleets of ships and finally came to an island they called Cariba, where they settled. 7 families, 7 fleets of ships. The Caribs referred to their original homeland as the Old Red Land. In a similar way, the Toltecs, predecessors of the Aztecs in Mexico, remember that their ancestors came from the Old Red Land. A high incidence of red clay in parts of the Atlantic Ridge offers an explanation for the Native Americans' references to Atlantis as the Old Red Land. Wow, I've just had a deja vu. I feel like I was talking about this to someone, but we talking about this in one of your chats, like Desert Rose, because I was talking about Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a lot of Native Americans, and it has red clay dirt.
Yeah, like Arizona and that, isn't it?
Is Arizona? See, I've never been to Arizona. I've been to Oklahoma enough. I just remember it was like these mountain, big hills, and we would climb them, and they would just the red clay dirt, just stain all your clothes and your shoes.
Yeah. I've been told that in Sedona, I think, or somewhere like Arizona, Sedona, maybe. Yeah.
So I'll find out in January when I go down there.
Yay.
I'm going there. One way or another. Even if I have to rent a van for a month, I'm going.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
Oh, excuse me. Let's see. Okay. The Caribs told Hansen that descendants of the 7 families from the old Red Land lived happily in Cariba for a very long time. Visiting priests from Atlantis taught the people the religion of Tupon and referred to them as the Tupi, meaning the sons of Pan. Pan was another name for the old Red Land. Many generations later, a particularly devastating natural catastrophe on Cariba compelled the Tupi to leave their sinking island home. They traveled a little further to the west in 7 even larger fleets and came to a sea they named the Caribbean after the Caribbean.
Okay.
That's how the Caribbean got its name.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
Yep. When they reached the Caribbean, the Tupi ancestors of the Caribs separated. Some settled on nearby mountainous land where they farmed by terracing, a technique their distant forebears employed on the steep mountainsides of Atlantis. Other Tupi moved to the south and journeyed up the Amazon River. The Guajaris of Paraguay continued to worship the god Tupan. At least one of the 7 groups of these Atlanteans from Cariba went north to the Mississippi River Valley. For a long time, representatives of the 7 extended families met every 104 years to coordinate calendars and compare adventures, but communication became an increasing problem and they gradually lost touch with one another. Well, that would be pretty awesome for over 100 years, a member of each of the 7 families got together. In the same way, after many generations, descendants of Lemurians and Atlanteans who settled in Central America gradually forgot the past history of their ancestors.
Huh.
So now we're on chapter 5. And it is, what time is it? Poseidia and the Yucatan, or the Yucatan, or the Yucatan, or the Yucatan, depending on how I say it at any given moment.
Yeah, I say Yucatan.
Most of the time, I think I say Yucatan, but sometimes it comes out.
Yeah, Yucatan, I've heard. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. She dreamed she was in a strange land, far from her homeland of Atlantis that was gone forever. It was hot in this foreign country, and she and her friends were surrounded by a forest which seemed to stretch on and on and on. The nearby sea was also unfamiliar. Noisy, small monkeys filled the air with loud shrieking. Brightly colored birds fluttered from tree to tree, and strange insects buzzed around her. The woman and her companions. Sorry, big old cricket just jumped up on the bed. Oh, those are supposed to be a sign of good luck, I think, crickets in the house. It's not making any noise, so he's good. Okay, so it's okay. The woman and her companions wore simple, primitive clothing and lived in huts constructed from gray bark. Her hands were rough and calloused from chopping trees for fires and digging to plant grains and vegetables. She was kneeling, pounding some nameless grain in a wooden bowl. Despite the hardships, she was happy. This dream came to renowned author Taylor Caldwell late in her life as she wrote The Romance of Atlantis. When she was she wrote that when that dream happened when she was only 12 years old. She lived from 1900 to 1985. Wrote that detailed novel about the experiences of a princess of Atlantis during the final days of her country on an island in the Atlantic Ocean. Caldwell's father sent the manuscript to her grandfather, a book publisher, who promptly turned it away. saying he was horrified and was convinced it was a fraud. He believed the philosophical and intellectual maturity it reflected indicated that someone much older than 12 had written it. Taylor Caldwell set aside the Romance of Atlantis until she was 70 years old. Then she sent it to her friend Jess Stern, who was interested in having it published. At the time, Caldwell had this dream about her life after she hurriedly left sinking Atlantis. Many Atlanteans, like those in Taylor Caldwell's dreams, who managed to escape from their sinking country during its last moments, found themselves in a difficult, often fearsome situation somewhere on the American continent. Since small groups of refugees did not have the knowledge or the equipment to reproduce the high standard of living they had enjoyed in their homeland, their lives soon disintegrated to primitive living conditions. The more fortunate, last-minute refugees from the Atlantic Ridge reached the island of Poseidia on the Bahama Bank in the Caribbean. Here they joined the thousands who had moved there since 28,000 BC. The first to arrive in Poseidia were people whom Casey identified as children of the Law of One. Throughout most of its long life, the majority of the inhabitants of Atlantis were spiritual individuals who loved and respected each other. Gradually, with the passage of time, the leaders divided into two groups, the children of the Law of One and the sons of Belial. The children of the Law of One are also referred to as sons of light, and the sons of Belial are called the sons of darkness. Similar terms are found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The sons of Belial were selfish, materially oriented individuals who focused on the pleasures of satisfying their own physical appetites and desires with no respect for others. As their lives filled with thoughts of material objects, they came to believe, like many of us today, that the acquisition of more and more would bring them happiness. Not true. Disaster threatened Atlantis. They were so involved in the material world, they did not heed the advice of the wiser individuals who urged everyone to leave if they wished to continue their lifetime on this planet. Chloe's snoring right now. She's out. The main principle of the Law of One is that we are all related. We are all one. The children of the Law of One focused on love and practiced prayer and meditation, hoping to promote everyone's spiritual knowledge. They followed the golden rule, and also believed that whatever they did to others would happen to them. They honored the Creator from whence they came, who gave them their soul. Many individuals on the earth today are Lemurians and Atlanteans who have returned to participate in another struggle between the forces of good and evil for control of this planet. Many individuals are Lemurians and Atlanteans who have returned to participate in the ongoing struggle between the forces of good and evil for control of this planet. I like that. Some believe that if the creases of the lines that are visible in the palm of your hand when you close it slightly from the letter M, form the letter M, you were probably one of the children of light. A curved S or C indicates a son of darkness. So if you look at your hand, I have a huge M. You see my M? See the huge M?
Oh, yeah.
New. I can't do it. Let's see if I do it this way. Goes.
I've got a big M.
Choo.
Yeah.
Nice. You have an M too?
Yep.
And that says that many believe you are probably one of the children of light if you have the M on your hand.
Yeah.
I have one on both.
Yeah.
on both my hands. Huh.
M&M.
M&M. Hey,
We said
that's my
that
favorite.
earlier, didn't we?
M&M's. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's in my chat. No.
Huh. Man, now I'm going to have to start looking at everybody I see's palm to see if they have an M or an S or a C.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, that's good. I'm so glad I have an M and not an S or a C. I wouldn't want to be a son of darkness.
No.
Hmm.
Okay.
However, one's actions or thoughts in Atlantis or Lemuria are not really important. What is significant is that today we are all here to help make our world a better place. The children of the Law of One will continue their good work, and the sons of darkness will have an opportunity to redeem themselves. Now, this is another letter from someone named Allison, and it says, I dreamed that my ex-husband and I lived in a big house that had large arched porticos and very filmy, sheer light drapery hanging from hangings of some type. The house was on a hillside, open to the fresh air and ocean breezes on all sides. I could feel the breeze, and the curtains were flowing softly from the windows. Life was wonderful, and I was very happy. I knew that we were living in Atlantis. In a city on a beautiful hillside overlooking the sea, the devout Poseidians erected lovely temples, some with large pillars of onyx and topaz inlaid with precious stones that reflected the sun's light. Oh, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Onyx and topaz. Two of the temples, the Temple Beautiful and the Temple of Sacrifice, became the center of the lives of numerous Atlanteans who wished to raise their level of consciousness even higher. It is said that beauty in mind, body, and soul was inscribed over the door of the Temple Beautiful, where men and women were equal and they worked together in harmony. Edgar Casey says that active participants in the Temple Beautiful and the Temple of Sacrifice wore special headgear and garments, but he does not describe them. Like doctors, nurses, train conductors, and royalty today, their clothing was similar to a uniform and indicated one's field of service. From psychic Betty Bethards, we learn that those who participated in the temple's activities wore a wraparound garment with large sleeves that hung down, resembling one of our hospital gowns today. It was tied at the waist with a shiny, lightweight metallic band, unlike any metal that we know. British author Murray Hope adds that the basic color of their garments and their sash, earrings, pendant, ring, bracelet, or headband indicated whether they were a healer or student or teacher, and also showed what level of enlightenment they had attained. When Atlanteans started the journey toward priesthood, the novices wore pale green robes. As they advanced, light blue clothing distinguished them. And finally, they were permitted to don the white garments reserved for the highest ranking orders. Unique, deep blue gowns were passed down from one generation of sages to the next and worn only on special occasions. A healer with a silver headband specialized in mental healing, and a okay, I do not know this word. Orichalcum. Orichalcum. I'm going to write this word in here real quick because I have no idea. Ori, C-H-A-L-C.
Let's see what that looks like. Let's get my glasses.
It's kind of a headband. And if whoever wore those, it indicated proficiency in physical medicine or surgery.
Eureka. It looks like Eureka almost, like Eureka. I don't know. Yeah, a real cow. Eureka.
Okay, let's see.
And they reach what? Spiritual enlightenment, they get that.
When they get all done. No, when they get the orichalcum headband, it indicated proficiency in physical medicine or surgery.
Oh, yeah.
It says the orichalcum in the headband was a popular metal in Atlantis. Okay, right here. If I would have kept reading, it's a popular metal in Atlantis, but its composition is somewhat of a mystery. In ancient Greek, the word simply meant gold metal. Plato says that orichalcum was something that in his time was only known by name, but was once a precious metal that sparked like fire. It was probably an alloy of gold or copper or meteorite iron. Memories of the orichalcum of Atlantis appeared 600 years before Plato's time in the works of the Greek poet Homer, who mentions it in the Hymn of Aphrodite as a golden metal. Hesiod, another pre-Plato Greek poet, also refers to orichalcum. The Temple Beautiful and the Temple of Sacrifice offered students opportunities to participate in a variety of activities intended to purify their bodies and minds. In the Temple Beautiful, the primary goal of the participants was to acquire a thorough understanding of themselves so they would be better equipped to serve others. Yeah, I like that. You gotta understand yourself first. Just like love, you gotta love yourself first.
And
Okay,
find the beauty. Yeah.
right. As they progressed in the 7 stations of the Temple Beautiful, a variety of techniques such as musical experiences and expressive dance forms furthered the participants' ability to interpret their emotions and to purge, heal, and unify themselves. Young women went to the Temple Beautiful to prepare for the self-sacrifice of motherhood and to learn how their actions affected the lives of their offspring. When they were ready, music assisted them in preparing their bodies and minds for procreation. At one station, teachers offered advice to unselfish individuals who wished to become missionaries. After completing their training, a group of teachers and caregivers from Poseidia went to Egypt and built a temple beautiful in a pyramid shape and a temple of sacrifice modeled after the one in their homeland. The temple of sacrifice was similar to our hospitals and will be described in chapter 11. Murias was the largest city in Poseidia. From Celtic myths and records and diaries of adventurers who crossed the Atlantic searching for treasures and legends, we know that Murias was the seat of the government for the area. Its extensive facilities included a hospital, a home for travelers in distress, and a shipyard with repair facilities. On a hill above the city, the Atlanteans built an exquisite healing temple which offered such remarkable cures that memories of it have never completely disappeared. This is another letter from someone anonymous that says, "Today, for the first time, I read about the mythical Atlantis on your website. I was in tears when I read the section about a temple with crystal windows because in the not so distant past, I had the most vivid dream about a similar place, and the memory of this dream haunts me still." The architecture of the exquisite healing temple above Murias is thought to have incorporated the vibrational and numerical aspects of sacred geometry, which intensify and focus various subtle cosmic energies from the sensitive person. It is also displayed, it also displays sophisticated knowledge of the structure of the universe and the solar system and planet Earth in a manner similar to the Great Pyramid in Egypt. Cattail in my book. Yes, you're fine. The temple's most unusual feature was its translucent rock crystal windows, which local people still remember. The building was dedicated to the Bennu bird and the god Min, both symbolic of rejuvenation and one of the sources of the island of Bimini's name. Bimini, like a Bimini. In 10,000 BC, rising ocean waters completely covered the thriving city of Murias, but the swelling waves stopped climbing before they reached the healing temple with the crystal windows. The unusual structure was safe, but at the water's edge. The medical opportunities available in Murias were well known throughout the Western world and enticed Irish, Egyptian, Greek, Phoenician, and Carthaginian travelers to the area for thousands of years. Inevitably, earthquakes disrupted the land, broke the temple's retaining walls, and toppled sections of the beautiful building as if it were a glass toy. Unusual temples were not the only accomplishments of the Atlanteans in Poseidia. Employing engineering techniques from their earthquake-torn homeland, they erected sturdy pyramids to represent the spiritual life of the soul as it rises to its highest point from a strong base. Although the ocean finally covered the buildings, sonar scans and aerial surveys taken when the water is calm reveal their outlines. Scuba divers also refer to the ruins of ancient buildings under the surface, but the information receives almost no publicity, for authorities rightly fear that the treasure hunters will strip them of valuable objects or employ damaging dynamite to explore beneath them. That's very true. From the ocean floor on the Bahama Bank, divers brought up limestone disc or sea biscuits, as they are called, which many believe were possessions of the Atlanteans who once lived there. In 1949, the Geological Society of America dredged a ton of similar sea biscuits from the seafloor south of Azores. In the shape of a plate, with a depression in the center of one side, the plates are all approximately 6 inches in diameter and 1.5 inches thick. Their surface is relatively smooth, except rough in the depression. Tests determine that sea biscuits are about 12,000 years old, and they are man-made from limestone, which formed above the surface. In the past, Atlantean descendants in Scandinavia placed fresh fruits and vegetables on plates similar to these and left them in rock crevices or carried them to hilltops as a way of paying tribute to the forces of nature. Just as religious groups left England in the 17th and 18th centuries to establish colonies in the New World, where they hoped to be free to worship as they pleased, so, as conditions changed in Poseidia, devout people moved away from their pleasant island home to Central America. In 10,600 BC, a virtuous and moral leader named Iltar led a small group from Poseidia to the Yucatan. The followers of Iltar lived their lives as symbols of the spirit of the one God and understood the importance of manifesting compassion for others. Focusing on their religious services rather than on acquiring unnecessary material possessions, they constructed energized circles of stones as sites for their worship. Temples and pyramids offer opportunities for increased healing and enlightenment, for they enhance the energy fields created by the emotions of those who spend time in them. Circles and pyramids. I always thought it would really be cool to have a circle house. It didn't have any corners and
Yeah, and me. Yeah.
So they had,
Oh,
so they built theirs in circles, sacred
yeah.
circles. A ceremonial circle similar to those the Native Americans have used for hundreds of centuries, or just a circle of crystals on the ground with a lit candle in the center, provides a positive link to the power of the universe and the Creator. If appropriate rituals are performed in a circle and each person intensely focuses on the same desired outcome, it is possible to improve their intuitional facilities or to assist an individual in healing his or her mind and body. In their strong sacred circles, Iltar and his Poseidian followers conducted ceremonies that were designed to cleanse their bodies and minds of anger, hatred, impatience, greed, and other selfish traits. Atlanteans regarded Earth as a living creature that responds to the same stimuli and harmonies that are pleasing to humans, and to that end they spent time in stone circles giving strength to the planet. They realized that the health and condition of the earth was bound up with their own actions and attitudes. In their ceremonies, they used the stone pillars of the circles like acupuncture needles to transfer energy from the heavens to the earth below, and provided the living planet with a harmonious source of strength and vitality. Hmm. The large flat-sided stones these prehistoric builders erected in circles are usually positioned so as to reflect sound towards the center. They appear to have been designed to act as a giant loudspeaker. The amplification of the strong vibrations of drums played during rituals would have had a moving and powerful effect on the emotions of everybody within the circle. Mhm. On the coast of Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, and throughout southern England, western France, and Scotland, prehistoric builders arranged immense boulders in circles resembling those Casey describes. Poseidians erecting in the Yucatan. Oh, that was one sentence. Resembling those Casey describes Poseidians erecting in the Yucatan. Remains of similar circles are also found on Pacific islands. These constructions, in lands where Lemurians and Atlanteans and their descendants settled, help to demonstrate the remarkable knowledge of our distant ancestors and their concern for Mother Earth. The spiritual people of the past preferred to build their homes in a circular or octagon shape.
Yeah.
They considered a round home to be more harmonious to the spirit and believed the geometric shape would better channel the energy of the universe.
Yeah.
Casey says a circular home contributes to a person's ability to be more productive. Many Native Americans live in circular tents. Well, yeah, I guess that's true. A teepee circle. A teepee is a circle. And even those yurts that they have now, those have you heard of yurts? Those
That's what I'm
tents,
talking
and they're
about.
round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned him today.
They have some of those on one of the lakes down here. They have a couple you can rent in the campground. Kind of cool. Let's see.
It's getting warm here now. Sun's coming out.
Numerous ruins of round houses built from stone are found in several parts of Easter Island. Almost all ancient cities in Central America were circular, and of course Plato tells us Poseidon constructed the Atlantean city of the Golden Gates in the same pattern. Circle cities with the gates outside. Which I kind of find that talking about the circles, built the cities in circles. At least here, like in the Midwest where I live, We have squares. Every city, every small town has a town square.
Yep.
They're never circles, it's always square.
Yep.
So I wonder, I don't know.
Times Square, Trafalgar Square.
Yeah. And that's,
Because
I mean,
time is squared. So, yeah.
I don't know why I just thought about that, but now I've lost my place. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Building the houses. Since the early residents of the Yucatan were almost totally attuned to the spiritual, the priests and priestesses were the government. Unselfish leaders like Iltar were convinced that the welfare and happiness of the people was their most important responsibility. The golden rule was really the law of the land. To ascertain how to improve their governing of the people in a manner similar to shamans and oh my goodness, and I know this word, in indigenous, there we go, indigenous cultures. The priests and priestesses use their psychic abilities to talk and listen to the one great creator. Unlike many of us today, they communicated and prayed regularly, not just when they were in trouble. The diet of these early inhabitants of Central America is slowly coming to light. Using slash and burn agriculture, 10,000 years ago, people grew corn, squash, and pumpkins. Fruits and nuts were readily available in their natural state, and coconuts from the Pacific reached the American continent at least 12,000 years ago. Since the distant past, spiritual individuals have realized that meat consumption is not conducive to developing the psychic aspect of one's mind, so meat was probably not included in their meals. Natural destructions are unusually severe in the unstable lands of Central America, and the catastrophes that bruise the Earth's fragile surface severely threaten the survival of those who live there. Time and time again, tidal waves covered cities in low areas along the coast, and earthquakes toppled buildings and simulated fiery volcanoes to fling out deadly rocks and boiling lava. During these difficult periods, the massive underground caves in the Yucatan, Guatemala, Belize, and other northern regions of El Salvador and Honduras offered safe shelter to hundreds of fortunate families. Prehistoric people made use of these caverns for innumerable centuries before the Mayan culture is commonly thought to have existed. The immense cave system, with its innumerable interconnected caverns of spacious rooms and high ceilings, is a natural formation, but residents also carved out additional areas which are referred to as the Lolton Caverns. Often priests used captives to carve the stepwork and chambers, and when the work was completed, the priests sacrificed the workers to keep the location secret and unknown to outsiders. Here, my prisoner, you got to work for me, and now I'm going to kill you. He did if they were prisoners and or captives and they let them go, yeah, they would most definitely go tell everybody.
Maybe.
Abundant artworks in the caves reflect the Lemurian and Atlantean ancestry of these early inhabitants. Painted symbols and bas-relief carvings on the walls, such as circles, spirals, swastikas, and equidistant crosses, are similar to those people left in the Canary Islands, South America, and southwestern Europe. Many inscriptions that embellish the Lolton Caverns were fashioned over 15,000 years ago. They demonstrate the interminable hours that artists spent in the dark, damp caverns waiting for the day when floods, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions would cease and they would be able to return to a more normal life. Certain symbols can be powerful, for each one contains vibrations that are related to the original thought that created it. If a person intensely concentrates on a symbol, it can lead to an altered state of consciousness and comprehension of that initial concept.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
I've done that with the hexagram.
See, that goes back. I would love to go somewhere and see some drawings. I mean, just, and I know, you can't go up to them and feel them or anything anymore. Everything's all, but
Yeah.
man, it'd be one of
Just
those
to see
things.
it.
I just feel like if you were able to touch it, you would feel
The
it.
DNA. Yeah.
Hmm. I gotta hurry up and figure out how I can do outer body so I can go feel some of this stuff while I'm sitting here in Missouri. Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Possible.
Oh, um the artworks. Here we go. Remote indigenous. I don't know why that word is so hard for me. Remote indigenous people isolated from our current civilization retain a belief in the power of symbols as they tattoo spirals and other signs onto their bodies. They believe these characters help them to gain added strength from the energy of the earth and all that is beyond. Early occupants of the Lolton Caverns carved and reshaped the huge stalactites, stalagmites, and rock pillars of the caverns into strange stone figures. When Manson Valentine explored here in the mid-20th century, he found various male faces carved with facial hair, including a 9-foot-tall giant with a full beard. The features of the sculptures are quite different from the current local Mayan population, who have no knowledge of who created those so long ago. The bearded ones, 9 foot tall with a giant beard. Some of the most striking drawings in the Lolton Caverns are outlines of hands with mutilated thumbs or cut off fingers. These gruesome depictions are similar to those left in the caves of southwest France and in the Pyrenees, and they imply that the artist had a common origin. The most prevailing belief is that the handprints are of the artist's signature. There is no logical explanation for the mutilation. Perhaps it was incorporated into a magical or initiation ceremony. In certain areas of the Lolton Caverns, sensitive visitors experience intense, concentrated forces which they believe radiate more energy than the Great Pyramid in Egypt. Artworks offer evidence that these rooms were set aside as sacred places where priests or shamans during hallucinatory out-of-body experiences gained access to what they refer to as the other world. Some priests describe communicating with their ancestors in this invisible place. Others seem to enter another dimension where knowledge is more readily available to them, like Casey's searching the Akashic records. To these skillful communicators with the spirits of the past, birds symbolize the flight of the soul. Paintings deep in the Lolton caves of the Yucatan depict a figure wearing a mask and bird headdress. They are almost identical to pictures of bird shamans in several European caves, such as the one with claws for hands, wearing a bird mask, which enhances a wall in the depths of the Lascaux cave in France. The French bird shaman's penis is erect, something that frequently occurs during trance states, and it points toward a speared bison whose head is turned to look at his own intestines falling from his wound. Next to the depiction of the bird shaman in the Lolton Cavern is a staff similar to those still carried by shamans today, topped with a bird.
Huh.
Phallic monuments stand outside 3 sites in the Yucatan that contain pictures of these bird shamans. A similar figure and his staff are depicted in the ancient Arizona rock engraving. There's Arizona.
Yeah. Huh?
Huh.
Huh.
In the 17th century, when the Spaniards were so cruelly destroying the Maya's advanced civilization, the Lolton Caverns offered local people excellent hiding places for their irreplaceable books and riches. There is a report of an old Mayan hermit who guards priceless treasure hidden in the Yucatan deep in these caves. The hermit's precious valuables may refer to something tangible, or perhaps the account alludes to the superior insights and higher spiritual knowledge of the Maya and their ancestors that we have not yet fully comprehended. The caverns in the Yucatan are especially extensive and confusing, with narrow, winding passageways and steep cliffs, so explorers have not completely investigated them. Someday, a skillful searcher will discover valuable records of the civilizations of Mu and Atlantis, and perhaps even some of their treasured gold and crystal possessions. Books of the Maya are another possibility, or the map to Mayan records that Le Plejons secreted away in a cave. The sea eventually covered countless buildings off the coast of the Yucatan. Like ghosts of the past, ruins of the structures are visible under the water today, as well as roads that travel from the coastline and disappear into the Caribbean Sea. Scientists have recently confirmed that prior to 9000 BC, people lived in Belize on the southern coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. Someday, Western archaeologists will acknowledge the Lemurians and Atlanteans and their descendants who settled here.
Huh.
That's the end of that chapter.
Ooh.
We went through another 2 chapters. Oh, it's after 1 o'clock. And our next chapter, and we're going to do this. I'm so excited. Monday during the day, high noon, Monday at noon, my time. So that'll be 6 o'clock your time.
Oh, I thought you meant 6 a.m. then. Oh, that's even better. Oh, 6 p.m.
Be 6 p.m. Yeah, because it'll be noon here.
Oh,
so it'll
yeah,
be
of course.
Your time. And then Angel is going to be up here.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And then we'll start on it'll be 6 o'clock your time. We'll start on the 6th chapter.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's perfect.
So yeah, it's North America next time. This book is just so interesting to me.
Oh, isn't it though? Because I'm
going to take this off my tripod and go out on the porch. But yeah, it's great. Whoops, walk around without stinging. Yeah, but yeah, I've my aunt was here the other day and she was asking me, she's like, okay, so when you're done reading this book, what are you just going to start buying a whole bunch of books to have a library for the book club? And I was thinking about it and I'm like, well, no, I'm going to be living in a van. So I do have one more book here that it's also on Lemuria and Atlantis, but it's completely different. This author, it's just questions that people have asked him, and then he talks to I think he goes in, he talks to Gaia and to one of his spirit guides, and he asks them all these questions about Lemuria and Atlantis, and that's what the whole book is. It's just that. Huh. So I don't know.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Right. So I said we could always do that, or, if it's an interactive book club and maybe we start doing some daytime ones, start getting more people in here. I don't always have to be the one reading the book. Someone else could have a book and be up here, and I could be the little picture and have them be picture and them read the book. So I don't always have to read either. So
Oh yeah, you could have it that they could come up and read an insert of their book, say, innit? Yeah, you don't have to carry on with the book every week. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just
even true.
just different things to think about on down the line. But yeah, because I'm not like Allie. Boy, Allie has a wonderful collection of books. It's just like a library. I feel you could just go in and it's just a library of
Yeah,
awesome books. I
I'll
mean,
pick one and go, right, read that one to me.
right, right.
I'm not reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think doing this during the day will be a little bit better because I know it's late at night and I'm a night owl and being outside and like I said, Monday I should be able to
yeah.
read it inside. So that'll be cool. And we'll see if some more people will come around and
Mm,
start in getting into it because I really like this book. And since we're starting on North America on Monday, that'll be fun.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really wasn't
and they,
expecting I wasn't expecting a chapter on North America, I guess. So it'll probably tell
yeah,
us, where the Atlanteans and Lemurians came in here. So that's kind of cool.
it will, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great.
It is. But yeah, I
Yeah, and you
like.
don't have to be up to speed in the book, I feel. So if someone's first time in and you're on
Right,
chapter 6, you say, you know what I mean? I reckon they can get with it because,
right. It's not one that you have to read everything or else you're lost.
yeah,
Yeah, you can pick up,
yeah,
and it refers to enough in the past chapters, that you're like it almost like continuously keeps you up to speed, kind of,
yeah.
that
Yeah, it's a
and
new
we
chapter, but the
talk about.
geography is probably the only thing was the theme throughout where we're moving around, isn't it? That's the only thing
Right.
was changed. Other than that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
And I might
perfect.
have to look at some pictures. See, because like last time after we read it, I
Yeah,
went and looked up Easter Island and got some different pictures there. So I might go see what I can find on Poseidia, and these different things we read about tonight. See if I can find any kind
yeah.
of pictures to make a little
Look,
video about.
like a little slide or something. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I wish I want to know how you do that. If you do a slide, do you know how to do them on a laptop or something? A
I
slide
don't
of
know how to
like a
do
load
it.
of pictures. Oh, you don't know either. Yeah,
No, everything
I
I
don't
do right
know.
now is on my phone. My daughter
Yeah.
did tell me she has a laptop that I can get from her. So next time I see her, she says they have two of them and they don't use them. So she's just going to give me one. So yay.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm gonna get her laptop and that'll also help me so I can start looking for some remote work too. So
Mm.
that'll work.
Oh, right, yeah. And you can share the screen better on that one if you ever
Yeah.
needed to. Yeah.
Well, and I should be able to see better because I have to like look through, the bifocal part of my glasses to read anything on my phone.
Oh,
And
I thought you were going to say to see me. I was going to say, oh, that's good.
but no, I have fun reading this. Not as many people in tonight, but that's okay. The replays are great. And when
Yeah,
when I do the live book readings, I'm almost kind of oblivious to other people until you say something about someone being in the room because I don't think about it. I get into the book so
yeah,
much
that's
and
right.
my
Yeah.
mind starts picturing things like today I'll be thinking about that when I get off here still what we read. I've got a lot
Oh,
of pictures and I'm really brings me more intrigued into rock carvings.
yes, oh,
And so I'm going to look up where all the ones in Arizona are too. So I'll make sure in January and February I get to go,
yeah,
see, because
yeah,
to me that would just be awesome.
yeah, yeah. Oh, feeling that.
I don't know. I'll have to ask Sassy because he's probably we have so many caves and caverns. I mean, there's ones around here that they drive you through that are so big. And I don't
Oh,
know if there's anything on any of the walls of them or not, but I mean,
mm,
there's several within
you
probably
might
3 hours of me. I bet there's about 15 different caves that you can go in. And I did when I
know.
was little, when I was a kid, it was like a tourist thing, but I really don't do touristy things anymore. But I don't know, just reading about all these caves and stuff, I might have to go
It's a
to like
different, yeah,
fantastic caverns or something and do it again now with the
different
things I
eyes.
and
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I think. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I might have to, because I bet I could get my uncle to go with me one day, because there's a couple down around Springfield. So I get off here. I bet that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna check into some of these caverns and caves around here and see which one I want to go to. I think that's something we should go do. That would be cool.
No.
Because as a kid, yeah, it's cool. I remember it being the temperature being different, and seeing the stalactites and all the things hanging. So, but yeah, as an adult and now just
Knowing
as an
what you know. Yeah.
mind adult too, that would be. And
Yeah.
I wonder if they let you take pictures when you're. Yeah, I'm gonna do some research on the caves when I get off here. I am
Yeah, and
because even though,
see what they sort of tell you about the cave as well. Because sometimes you might think, look, they're giving out misinformation, or this is really
right,
good. Like, I'll be
right.
interested in that as well.
So, and see, that's kind of funny because this book, Lemuria and Atlantis, and here I am getting ideas of things to go see here in Missouri. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, come from that book.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is a
full
hotspot,
circle.
jewelry. I know it is. It's got stuff there. Yeah, I
Oh
hear
man,
it a lot.
we're almost right in the middle of the country, and like I said, there's so many caves, and you can go
Yeah,
back to the wild, wild west. You got Jesse James, the James brothers. I mean, you had Bonnie and Clyde went through here. I mean, there's all kinds of
yeah, I
history,
know.
and
Yeah,
to go even further, I mean, that would be pretty cool. I'm sure
yeah. It's
there's
gonna
like
get
a
a mention. I know it in that book. You know it, isn't
won't that
it?
be wild? I'll be like,
Yeah, it
ah.
will. I know it. I know it already. They're gonna say something because it's right in the middle, like you said. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
really.
and we've got the mountains starting, the
Yeah,
Ozarks, tons of rivers, and
yeah,
I didn't appreciate Missouri. Oh, I mean, I did. Growing up, we always went weekend trips. So everywhere around Missouri, I feel like I've camped, or we did all the touristy things. We were that family that driving down the road, we would go 50 miles out of the way to see the largest ball of yarn, and all this stuff.
no,
So, but was cool because, as a kid, we got to do all that stuff. But
mm,
and then I started getting to where I wanted out of Missouri for years and years and years. At one point, I almost went to Arizona. I almost went to Maine. In fact, I was packed, ready to go to Arizona. I had all my stuff packed, ready to go to Maine. My ex and we talked about going to Montana. In fact, he even got offered a job up there on the phone, so all these places, but it never worked out. So I finally decided that my home base is supposed to be here in Missouri. I'm here for a reason. I can
yeah.
travel around and I'll do that, but
You
my
can't
home
leave.
base will always be Missouri. I'm a Missouri girl through and through. Show me state.
Yeah,
My favorite color is bird. Our state bird is the bluebird. So yeah, but it has a lot to offer. So I'm definitely gonna go check out a cave. That's going to be on my probably in a couple weeks, because next weekend I'm having my yard sale selling all my stuff. We might be able to go the week after,
yeah.
or we can
You'll have
even
some
go on a
spending money
Monday.
then.
Maybe I'll have him go on a Monday instead of playing golf. There won't be any golf this Monday though, since he's got to go up to the city, up to Kansas City for the day.
Oh, he normally plays every Monday then.
Yeah, because I have
Oh,
Monday off.
yeah.
And so I can go with him, and he doesn't want to go by himself. And he's 74. He really doesn't need to go by himself. So I can go Mondays, and that way he's not alone. And we're keeping the scorecard. So every week, he can see if he's done better on a hole or worse.
Yeah.
And
Well, is that
so
guy we seen on the camera? Did
yeah,
you
that's
film
my
him?
uncle.
Well, he's
Yes.
74.
He's 74.
No
Yes.
way.
Yep.
He looks well young.
Yes,
Damn.
and he's an awesome guy. He is just an old
Oh,
hippie. I mean, and he'd do anything for anybody. He's a
I was
great guy. So I figure,
maybe. Bro, he
I've
looks
been
well.
I've been here for 4 months. He lets me use his car. Chloe and I live here. I think the least I can do is go play golf with him on
Yeah,
Mondays.
I know. You
And
want to,
because
yeah, you want to give him a smile on his face.
Yes, he enjoys it. He even went and bought a new pair of golf shoes a couple weeks ago, so he used them last week. So yeah, it's good for him, and that's good for me because
you can do that.
he's happy. I like that. That makes me happy too. So right now it's 123, 123. But I think actually I'm gonna get off here because now I'm just itching to go look up caves because I'm gonna find a cave and decide which one I'm gonna go explore. That'll be fun. But so like tomorrow is Sunday. I don't have anything planned tomorrow. I think I'm just gonna go through stuff for myself. So I'll be looking to see if you're live on any of your 3 channels. Who knows? I might end up during the day. If it's a nice day, I might end up outside doing a live. Who knows? It won't be the book. I'm going to wait on reading the book till Monday when Angel comes up. So I'm excited about that. I was so happy she said yes. I wasn't sure if she'd say yes right away or, she'd want to think about it but she said she would be honored.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to end this here. Everybody that's here smirking or anybody that's been in the room or anybody that watches the replay, thank you so much for joining us. And yes, and next week, or no, not even next week, we will be doing this again on Monday. So in 2 days only, we're going to do it at noon my time, noon Central Time. So more people will be awake, and we'll do it when people are awake and not sleeping. So
I'll be in the chat.
Yes, you'll be in the chat this time. So I'm gonna get my heart ready. The 11s. But I love you all. I love you all, and thank you so much, Code, for being up here with me. It's been fun.
My pleasure.
And
thank you.
I will see you all soon. Much love to you all. Mwah. Bye-bye.